Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Stuart Reed, and I'm Executive Director of Community Foundation Grey Bruce. And we're very pleased to be hosting the second information session on the Investment Readiness Program. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. I see some people are still dropping in, and we'll welcome them, and we'll get underway, however. So Community Foundation Grey Bruce is one of two regional partners on the delivery of the IRP, and our partners foundation is the WindsorEssex Community Foundation. And we're very pleased to be hosting these sessions along with WindsorEssex and to be co-administering the IRP for Central Southwestern Ontario with our partner. And today I'm speaking to you from our office in downtown Owen Sound. And with great respect, we acknowledge the history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, as well as Chippewas of Nawash and Chippewas of Saugeen, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as well as the Six Nations of the Grand River, the Haudenosaunee and Wendat Wyandot peoples, on whose traditional territories our foundation conducts its business. We gather as well. We also recognize the Métis and Inuit whose ancestors shared these lands and waters. And at our foundation, we are mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive for justice in all our relations. And may we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and peace, and live in peace and friendship with all of its peoples. So welcome you today. And I also want to introduce my colleagues that are on the call to support the conversation this afternoon. Christine McGregor, Community Outreach Officer from Community Foundation Grey Bruce, and Jennifer Isberleg, our grants coordinator, is also on the call, and both are going to be facilitating the question and answer that's going to come up a little later in the call as well. And I'm also pleased to introduce Acela Mercelovic from WindsorEssex Community Foundation. Acela is the Community Investments Coordinator, and she's going to say a couple of words. Acela?
Thank you so much, Stuart, for the introduction. As Stuart mentioned, my name is Acela Mercelovic, and I'm the Community Investment Coordinator at the WindsorEssex Community Foundation. Today, I'm speaking to you all from my home in Windsor-Essex County. The WindsorEssex Community Foundation sits on the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, which include the Ojibwa, Odawa, and the Potawatomi. We respect the long-standing relationship with First Nations people in this place in the 100-mile Windsor-Essex Peninsula and the Straits of Detroit. On behalf of the WindsorEssex Community Foundation, we are honored and so excited to be a regional partner on the delivery of the Investment Readiness Program and to co-lead this initiative with the Community Foundation Grey Bruce.
Thank you, Acela. We thank you so much for this collaboration and working together on this information session on the IRP. So this initiative is funded by the Government of Canada and supports social purpose organizations as they contribute to solving pressing social, cultural, and environmental challenges across Canada. The goal of the IRP is to help social purpose organizations build their capacity to participate in Canada's growing social finance marketplace and to prepare themselves to be able to take on investments. The IRP is currently open for an additional round of applications thanks to a renewed $50 million investment from the Government of Canada. And the IRP is supporting social purpose organizations as they recover from the pandemic and build more resilient communities for the future. To best serve the diversity of communities, a variety of organizations work within the Investment Readiness Program ecosystem. Community Foundations of Canada is proud to serve as one of the IRP's national funding intermediaries, and CFC is collaborating with regional partners across the country to award IRP funding. CFC is also working alongside the Foundation for Black Communities, and Black-led or Black-serving social purpose organizations can apply to both CFC and the Foundation for Black Communities through the online application portal system. We may have some questions about that today. So Acela is going to talk for just a moment about the key dates and timing for this round of IRP.
Thank you, Stuart. I just want to quickly do a little summary. So your social purpose organization can apply for amounts ranging from 10,000 to 75,000. Your organization will need to determine which of the two funding streams, as Stuart has just mentioned, you will submit your application to. Your options are the Explore stream, which is between 10,000 and 25,000, or the Stabilize and Build stream, which is between 30,000 and 75,000. We are going to learn more about the streams today a little bit. And there's only one application intake period for the Investment Readiness Program. You might want to jot down these important dates. So the application portal is open right now until November 22nd. For us to receive the applications, all applicants must submit applications by the SMA portal. February 13th, 2023, funding recipients will be notified. February 14th, 2023, and ongoing funding agreements will be sent for you to sign, and payments will be issued. March 30th, 2023, regional partners will provide community foundations with an interim report regarding funds received and how they have been spent. April to November of 2023, Investment Readiness Program learning cohorts will run for select organizations. And then December 15, 2023, deadline for funded projects to be completed. January 31st, 2024, funding recipients will need to submit a final report to Community Foundations of Canada. Today, we are going to hear Elly's presentation, then we are going to welcome your questions. If you have if a question occurs to you during the presentation, please put it in the chat box. Christine and Jen are monitoring the chat box. And Christine will be retaining all the questions and reading them out to us after Elly's presentation. If we don't have any answers for you today, we will be sure to address the response at our through an email afterwards. So answers to your questions will be a great resource for other applicants when the recording is shared.
Great, thanks, Isela. And so today we're going to hear from Elly Green. If you were with us the first time a couple of weeks ago, and the session's available online, you probably enjoyed the introduction to the IRP. We talked a little bit about the concepts of eligibility, about what a social enterprise is, about sustainable development goals, and tying your narrative up about why your social purpose organization exists, and kind of a deep dive into the eligibility requirements for the program. So today we're going to talk about how to write a great application, and Elly's going to be drawing upon some past projects that were supported from previous rounds of the IRP, and then we're going to open it up for a Q&A at the end. So as Isela said, please, if you have a question, drop it in the chat box, and we'll be addressing those a little bit later on in our afternoon together. And these proceedings are being recorded, as Christine mentioned, and we will be sharing a link to the session on YouTube, so you can watch it afterwards, or share it with friends or other people that might be interested in applying. The deadline's fast coming up next Tuesday, November 22nd. So well, I know you're all deep into consideration of the program. So we're glad you're here today to share your experience of the IRP process. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Elly Green to you. Elly has over 20 years of project-based work experience supporting nonprofits and emerging organizations, and particularly pursuing community development and social enterprise and all kinds of impact-driven work. For the last 2 years, Elly's been working as the lead of the Community Benefit Purchasing Project, which is a partnership project between Ashoka Canada and Georgian College. Elly has facilitated extensive regional, provincial, and national partnerships. She's led stakeholder groups from awareness through to investment in various initiatives and sectors. Prior to her current projects, Elly supported the vision, growth, and management of the Social Enterprise Network of Central Ontario, or CENCO, which is housed at Georgian College's Center for Changemaking and Social Innovation. Through her leadership with CENCO, Elly has secured core programming funding to ensure regional support for many social purpose organizations in Central Ontario. Also, while at CENCO, Elly was a key partner when Community Foundation Grey Bruce administered the first round of IRP for Central Ontario in 2019, with Georgian College as a partner. So we're really grateful for Elly coming forward to be able to lend her insights and frame the IRP project for us today. So welcome, Elly.
Thanks, Stuart, for the warm welcome. Thanks, Acela, for the intro as well. I'm going to take it away here and share screen so you have some visuals to accompany our presentation today. So as Stuart mentioned, this is the agenda for this session. This is session 2, and we're going to review some past successful projects. We are going to review projects in Central Ontario as well as some national projects. We're going to touch on creating a great IRP application to create, manage, or expand your social enterprise. And then we're going to conclude with an extended Q&A with Stuart and Acela. So here we go. The successful project section, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information. So I just want to give you a heads up to sit back and listen and jot down any organizations or any terms or any aspects that might be of interest to you so that you can look them up at a later time. You also can jot down any questions that might come to mind, and we'll address all of those at the very end. So the first section, we are going to review 18 organizations at a very high level that were successful recipients of the IRP for round 1 and 2 focused in Central Ontario. We decided to focus on this region because this was the region that we supported for this round. Just so folks know, that's why we're focusing here. This is the region we have the most information at Community Foundation Grey Bruce. Okay, so Dufferin Board of Trade. Their business hub is a professional shared space offering business supports and connections and learning and networking opportunities designed to help small businesses and not-for-profits thrive in their community. Bogawada Alliance secured funding to offer a trailer to rent to families or small groups and offer different experiences by community members of Nishingaming. The Harmony Center secured funds for an 18-month contract to research their 4 Rs, which are reflect the community's current needs, reimagine building uses, redefine plans for necessary changes, and repurpose the operations for maximum impact and sustainability. Took a Tree secured funds to increase their ability to manage large in-process and finished goods to provide capacity to fulfill the requirements of large RFPs they are favored to win. Community Builders secured funds to double Community Builders construction training program, which position their social enterprise for investment readiness and greater community impact. Launchpad Youth and Technology Center currently offers skill development to youth 12 to 18 years old. They secured funds to expand development programming to older age demographics, utilizing current infrastructure while youth are in school. As well, their SPO secured funds to create a feasibility study and business plan to operate an ice cream truck as an employment training program for youth. Redwood Park secured funds to develop a business plan for an outcomes purchasing model, which demonstrated how social housing providers, in partnership with investors, can sell a reduction in demand for emergency services. Streams Community Hub received support from the town of Shelburne to build a creative hub and secured funds to seek the services of a consultant to help position them ahead of funding appeals through the IRP. Glassworks Co-op secured funds to develop affordable, sustainable community housing for low-income seniors, students, and families, and to create community space for organizations, artists, local food producers, and startups. Camp Hill Communities secured funds to support Camp Hill Communities Ontario's maple syrup program that creates opportunities for adults with intellectual disabilities to learn new skills, create meaningful paid work opportunities, and be innovators in sustainable social enterprise. The Big Canoe Project. This SPO provides tours and day camps in big canoes with small groups to enable physical activity and teach about climate change and diversity. Contact Community Services. This SPO will provide a reuse center, social hub, stimulating economy, volunteerism, and decreasing landfill. The project will hired a consultant to prepare a financial report for long-term sustainability. Eat Local Grey Bruce secured funds to formalize policies and procedures, complete full financial assessments, and perform comprehensive strategic planning exercises in an effort to ensure continued sustainable growth. Golden Dawn's funding assisted a redevelopment task force to develop a costed, sustainable plan to provide seniors care and affordable housing on the Northern Bruce Peninsula as a social enterprise. The Fourth Pig Project was a comprehensive viability study on creating a replicable model for accessible, environmentally healthy housing, researching building design and costs, alternative land, mortgage, rent support models, and investment opportunities. The Dragonfly Collective secured funds to support the opening of a cafe and community hub, and the project supported the completion of a business plan. Split Rail Brewing Co. secured funds to clarify their brewery business position and to move towards B Corp certification, and to seek investors who share in their values of quality, integrity, and social responsibility. Muskoka North Good Food Co-op, which builds healthier communities and a robust food economy, secured funding to scale up their regional agri-food sector, capacity build, market, educate, grow, and encourage community well-being. All right, so that was a lot of information, I realize. So I hope you had a chance to listen through those examples. Each of these organizations mapped their work to the Sustainable Development Goals. So as you heard in the first session a couple of weeks ago, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are urgent calls for action by all countries, both developed and developing, to create positive change. The successful projects we just reviewed were all mapped to these SDGs. If you're not yet familiar with the SDGs, we encourage you to explore the first session and the SDG website. Within the IRP application, you'll have the opportunity to identify an SDG your organization is working towards. So looking to Central Ontario and looking to the organizations that I just shared, here is the breakdown of SDGs supported by organizations. I'll now review them here as well. So as you see, 2 organizations aligned with Goal 2, Zero Hunger. Goal 9, Decent Work and Economic Growth, had 5 organizations. Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, had 6 organizations. Goal 13, Climate Action, had 5 organizations. So now we're going to move from the specific region of Central Ontario that we were just focused in, and we're going to explore a few of the IRP stories that are shared on the Community Foundation of Canada website. So if any of these examples, these successful projects that I'm going to get into next are of interest to you, you can read a full 1-page case study on these initiatives. So there's a lot more information for you to explore on this next section in the initiatives I'm going to speak to. through the website. So I encourage you to check out that link. This not-for-profit, Iron and Earth, was created in response to the 2015 oil crash. Workers were chatting around their lunch table and noticing a lot of people losing work, said Adam Lynn Ford, Iron and Earth's Director of Innovation and Energy Policy. At the same time, workers were realizing that their skills and experience were highly transferable into renewable energy. They decided to form an organization to help to build the future economy. Iron and Earth received $83,000 in non-repayable capital from the IRP to offer short-term, in-person training in renewable energy for the fossil fuel sector and Indigenous workers. Any profits generated by the training company go directly towards the not-for-profit arm of Iron and Earth. The Healing Village is going to be for Indigenous women who are suffering from systematic racism and whose children are currently in the welfare system, says Michelle Harris, Clan Mothers Project Manager. It's going to help them get their lives back, regain their children, and support them in a continuous services. As part of their outreach, this initiative requires assets like brand development, market research, and financial modeling. These assets are as vital as they can be expensive, which is why the Investment Readiness Program awarded $58,000 to support the creation of these processes. Vancouver-based social enterprise Brave Co-op prevents accidental overdose deaths using technology to connect people to community support when they are most at risk. Brave Co-op founder Gordon Casey shared 60 to 90% of overdoses are actually reversed by non-professionals, non-EMTS. The community has really been at the forefront of preventing more overdose deaths happening. Our go-to has always been to ask those people, how can we serve you to be better able to respond in a sustainable way, to get there faster, to be better equipped? With $87,000 in IRP funding, Brave Co-op is able to create the kinds of assets that show potential investors that it can become profitable and provide returns. The things that we're doing through the IRP are primarily financial modeling, tying that into our impact measurement, and then tying that into our marketing and positioning. Based in the coastal community of Powell River, Kelume is a social enterprise and manufacturing facility, providing inclusive employment for people with diverse abilities. To support the journey to financial resiliency, they received $14,000 in IRP funding. They share, the IRP funding is to support us in hiring a consultant who is an expert in social enterprise, but also our type of business. For us to have a basic business plan is going to be absolutely essential for us to move forward. Based in Brampton, Ontario, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network Foundation supports entrepreneurs of African and heritage by providing networking opportunities, workshops, and resources. The organization is now launching its first social enterprise. Receiving $21,000 in IRP funding is helping ACBN prepare to pitch to investors. The organization is using the capital to create a marketing and business plan to demonstrate its viability. They share, having a robust marketing strategy, understanding the legal implications, putting together the financial modeling to show the potential growth of the agency. We'll be able to position ourselves to launch. The IRP was great because if we just did this all from scratch on our own, it would have taken years to complete. It really pushed the fast forward button for us. Okay, so there's so much information there, so many amazing, successful applicants. So I encourage you once again to dive deeper into any of the organizations you learned about today. to find out what you can about their IRP projects from their own websites. And that last section, you can find more information on the Community Foundations of Canada site as well. Okay, so now we will move on to the next section, which is creating a great IRP application, and it's going to be in 6 steps. Here we go. So step number 1 is alignment. Is your social, sorry, the words. Here we go again. Alignment. Is your organization a social purpose organization? What product or service are you offering that generates revenue? What positive impact is your enterprise creating or advancing? So CFC has provided a definition for social purpose organization. We shared these definitions in our last session, and you can also look to the guideline and glossary docs on the website to find this information. So once again, an SPO or a social purpose organization can be a charity, not-for-profit, cooperative, or social enterprise business. In all cases, a social purpose organization is advancing a social, cultural, or environmental mission. Stage 2. What stage is your social enterprise at on their investment journey? Reviewing the provided investment readiness continuum will be required to confirm your stage. This continuum is available once again on the website and in the guidelines. So what you will find when you explore the investment readiness continuum is that there's multiple stages, and I'll just share a few of those stages, but I encourage you to check out that chart because it has a lot more information. So stage 1, getting started. Stage 2, underway. Stage 3, establishing, and stage 4 is ready. The stream is number 3. So what stream will best support your social purpose organization to move forward in investment readiness? So Acela shared these 2 streams at the top of this session. The Explore stream is between 10 and 25,000, and the Stabilize and Build stream is between 30 and 75,000. The Explore stream. This stream is for social purpose organizations that are at the early stage of exploring, developing, and testing their social enterprise idea. You may be researching, developing, and testing different aspects of your social enterprise plan, such as your revenue generation model. Or you may be in need of technical assistance or support on a very specific aspect of your project that will assist you in launching or growing your social enterprise, or in preparing you to take on investment. This may include items such as legal advice, market expertise, and so on. When you look at the guidelines online, you'll see a much longer list of potential expertise that might support your social enterprise in this stream. The Stabilize and Build stream. This stream is for social purpose organizations that already have a well-developed enterprising model and are farther along in their understanding and preparation for taking on investment. Your organization is ready to take on a big project to increase your organization's impact and get one step closer to your social finance goals. Okay, moving on to the next 3 steps. So step number 4. Team clearly outlined a project with an appropriate budget. Is the project specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, in alignment with the IRP? So once again, your project and your budget align. You have them both identified, and they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Number 5, capacity. Does your organization have the capacity to support the project you're planning to deliver? Consider your team's skills, knowledge, and experience. Have you included an expert to support your project in areas where you need additional support? For example, impact measurement, financial modeling, business planning, and more. Capacity within your organization. You need to be able to bring in expertise through this funding program should you not have these expertise. This is a great way to utilize IRP funds. Step number 6. Does your organization and project align with the priorities of investment readiness? This is the Investment Readiness Program. The IRP also encourages applicants from rural areas, Indigenous-led and focused organizations, linguistic minorities, newcomers to Canada, and other minority communities. Might this be you? Might this be your organization? If it is, we encourage you to apply. So with this, the online application portal is now open, and it will remain open till next week, November 22nd at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To explore this application, to begin the process of applying through the portal, we've included the website here in the slides, and we'll also include it in the chat if it hasn't already been noted there. So with all of that, I will now pass it over to Stuart and Acela to take it away and move into the Q&A section of our session today.
Thank you so much, Elly. As always, great presentation. We really do appreciate you taking the time to share with everyone about social impact, social purpose organizations, and the Investment Readiness Program.
Thanks, Acela. Yeah, great to be here.
I think it was really interesting to hear the way that those successful projects described what they were doing. And I know that people that are working on their application, the language and the way that they're very succinct about their purpose and integrating their purpose with what their goal is related to future investment. And when you get into the IRP application, you're going to have a couple of opportunities to distill your message down to just a couple of sentences. It asks you for that. So, you know, kind of absorbing that language and that description is really important to be able to be succinct and clear about how your social purpose relates to the capacity that you're trying to address related to your future investment and how you're going to define that too. So I think the descriptions, Elly, were really helpful in kind of elaborating on that language we all aspire to use in terms of clarity and just description of our essential purposes, and linking it to, you know, your organizational on the continuum, but also to the SDGs and the loftier purpose of what is meaningful about what you're doing for our communities and our country. So thank you so much. It was great.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I wanted to keep it as clear and concise to what the applicants had included, because as you mentioned, they were very well thought out descriptions and included key terms and concepts the IRP is funding. So yes.
Terrific. So Acela, you and I are going to welcome some questions, and Jen and Christine have been watching the chat box, and maybe we'll, I'm going to switch my view to gallery so I can see everybody. Maybe Jen and Christine, do we have some questions to address?
Yep. So we had a question come in. Does the SPO need to be started by a nonprofit or charity?
According to eligibility, you have to have a business number. So you have to be incorporated, not a sole proprietorship, but an incorporation and business number. You can be a charity or a not-for-profit. Sometimes they're not. A not-for-profit is not a charity, or you can be a registered business as well with that number. Does that answer that question? Is that clear? And I refer you to the guidelines document as well, the program guidelines, which we've shared prior, and there's a very healthy description of who can apply. So it's a charity or a not-for-profit or a co-op or a social enterprise business, which can be a for-profit business. And you have to have that business number, and it has to have been established before September 2021. So you have to have a year of operations under your belt to apply.
Thank you, Stuart. And I can see that we have a raised hand. So if they would like to unmute, if you would like to ask your question.
That be me or another raised hand?
Yes, that would be yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks to Elly and the team for the information so far. My name is Guillermo, and I am curious about whether an application, let's say the application is submitted for $40,000. Could an application be partially approved for some of the projects? Or would an application be wholly approved and or wholly rejected without an opportunity for some things to be approved and some things to not be approved?
I think we had a similar question in round one, and we do ascribe to the tenets of trust-based philanthropy, and we want to support organizations to the level that they self-declare that they require to complete their project. But saying that from the adjudication team has a finite budget to work with, so there may be some decisions where you would have to, there may be a recommended lower amount than what you've requested.
Okay, that's helpful. And then in terms of, I guess that's good for now. That's good for now. Thanks very much.
So Guillermo, again, Elly talked a little bit about that continuum document where you kind of make sure that you find your place on the spectrum, and that will equate with the two streams, so you know how to justify which stream you're applying for, whether you're at the earlier ideation, getting things off the ground, or whether you're more established. And the amount that you're describing would be in the stabilize and build stream, which is the second stream. So you should find, make sure you're checking the boxes on the continuum document to reassure yourself that you're landing in the right stream in terms of your application.
Thanks very much.
And I can see Larissa has a raised hand.
Hi. For the people who don't know me on the call, I have a business that's a fundraising consultancy. So I teach charities and nonprofits how to raise money. So my clients are like Big Brothers Big Sisters, the YMCAs, et cetera. And I work with their fundraising staff to build the internal infrastructure to fundraise better and make more money. So I think, because I want to apply for this funding to grow my business, because if I serve more charities, then they can help more homeless people and more animals and more people struggling with mental health. So I think my UN goal is the partnerships one, the last one. Does that make sense? The last one, right?
I think
because really it's all of them.
Yeah, I can jump in
indirectly.
here if you'd like,
Please, Elle.
Stuart. So hi Larissa.
Hey.
I will definitely agree with you. That would be a great goal to focus on. It's important to note that the UN SDGs, they do all work together, right? So they are all interconnected. So what I would encourage you to consider is either sticking with the goal you've identified, unless you have a set of clients that you're already hoping to work who are specifically focused on poverty reduction and or zero hunger or climate. And then I would narrow in on that area. But I think where you're
Okay.
headed makes the most sense for your business overall. Yeah.
Yeah, because the application I want to put forward is going to be related to marketing, because right now the challenge with my business is awareness, and I need to build awareness of my company in order to start serving more clients. So it's not a specific client I need, it's overall awareness and trust in my company for more charities to want to work with me.
Yeah. And I mean, the partnership goal is another goal that would align, but yeah, sustainable communities, cities and communities, or partnership for all the goals. I think either of those would align best. But goal 11, I think completely aligns. Any other thoughts, Estella or Stuart, on that one?
just a caution about Larissa, I don't know your incorporation status, but if
It's
your
incorporated.
business, are you a sole proprietorship or you're?
It's a corporation.
Okay, so you should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always a caution. Now, sole proprietorships can align with an eligible charity or another entity to apply. So it doesn't mean you're left outside of the loop, but there'd have to be a collaborative project, and the lead applicant would need that business incorporation from the date of September 2021, as I'd mentioned. Hey,
Yeah, I've
Sala,
been
is that-
incorporated for like 5 years, so it's fine.
Excellent.
Larissa, I will also, and for everyone else on the call, so when we talk about fundraising and when we're talking about social enterprise, I know within reviews of applications, this funding is specifically looking at investment readiness and social enterprise. Larissa, I totally can connect the dots based on what you've shared and how you want to move towards investment readiness. I just want to state really clearly on the call for everybody, the funds of the IRP aren't specifically to help organizations individually move forward with a fundraising plan. And I know that this has been a confusion for other organizations. So I just wanted to bring specific clarity to that, but definitely understand the points of connection you shared, Larissa.
Like, I'm applying for my own organization,
Yeah.
for my own social enterprise. Okay,
Totally. I just wanted to
Okay.
ensure others on the call understand the clarity that they can't move forward with fundraising because this is social enterprise focused and investment readiness, just so others on the organization clearly hear that.
Thank you. I see that we still have some raised hands, but maybe we could answer one of the questions in the chat. Lee, there's a question here. After starting the application last week, it seems that our SPO doesn't fit any of the categories that were listed on the business slide. What could I do about that?
So is this is in the eligibility category?
Yes, for the eligibility, I believe.
Well, I'm kind of surprised at that because I think our Lee, or your organization, was successful in round one, so there must be something we're missing there. Was it about the incorporation question?
No.
Or
It's about the numbering. I ended up clicking on something where you want a number that corresponds to the type of business that we are. And as a community center, I didn't see anything that was quite like that. It was close, but not quite. So I didn't know if there's any way to put, in other. Or maybe I'm just not understanding this.
so it's a drop-down menu. I see it's is it that NAISCS code?
I think
that
so.
section?
And
So they-
ours, I started looking at, I think it was under 71s.
So I would suggest, to the best of your ability, please indicate the 6-digit North American Industry Classification System Canada Code of Social Purpose Organization. So not to foil your application, you are going to have to choose which one best aligns with your model.
Lee, do you know which one you chose last time?
No, I don't actually remember even seeing that last time,
So
but I can go and look, I suppose.
I believe this question was on the last round, but I'm not 100% sure. So I was just thinking, oh, I wonder if you could trace back just for ease.
Is this the third round or the second round? Because I think we were successful in the first round.
This is
there's
third.
been 3, yeah.
Yes, and
There were
it might
2.
not have been on the first round.
You know what? Thank you, Lee. We will pose this question to our friends at CFC and just see if there's I see there is an other box too. There, you probably have to go to the link to find the code that best matches your business model. So we will check into that to see what the answer might be.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Elly.
So I can see that Kathy has raised her hand if you wanted to share, Kathy.
Oops, I'm just trying to get this to work. There we go. Yes, thank you for your allowing me to ask. I have two questions for you. I've been working through the application, and I see that, you know, we have to upload a budget, which is quite understandable. Are there any other documents that will need to be uploaded at the end of the application? Like I've used placeholders so I can get through all the pages so I can see what's required, but without having something to put onto the budget screen, I can't get to the next screen to see if there's anything else in additional uploads that need to be added to the application. Are there anything that I need to be aware of that I can start prepping?
There might be things related to your status, incorporation documents, and sometimes financial statements. Most recent financial statements are also requested. I'm just looking at the application here, but I don't see.
And our year end was September 30th, so we don't have our financial statements for this last year. So if they are required, I would use for the previous year.
The most recent completed, yes.
Okay.
Would be correct. I also see that there's information on your board of directors, some authorization in terms of conflict of interest, and I guess you'll have to work through the whole application file to see all the bits and pieces that may be required at the end. I'm sorry, I have an application form printed out, but it doesn't list any of the like clarity about what uploads are going to be required.
Okay. I'll just see if I can wing something into, yeah. Okay. My other question is the project that we are working on will help us to move forward as an organization, as a business, as an SPO. And it's some internal reorganization and shuffling and structure and things that we find that we're not ready for, that we need to do. And are we allowed, like, we want to hire on a consultant to help us maneuver through this process, but to be able to be ready for that consultant, are we allowed to start with brainstorming sessions and informal sessions before bringing on the consultant to actually start the project, like maybe a month prior to any consultant work?
Yes, and the stage one is about ideation and getting started. So at this stage, you might have a business idea or concept, but still need to develop it, including identifying the structures and skills required to implement the idea. So you might not have given much thought to the social finance market, but are where you need to raise capital. So yes, that ideation stage is supported in the stream one.
Okay, even though we've been around for a couple of years now, and we have gone through the ideation of creating our business model, and I have been existed now for a whole year, with our ownership of our property. It's just we found that we're lacking in one particular aspect, and that's where we need to help to move forward. So it would still come under the explore area then.
It sounds like that, yes. And you have a defined revenue source related to a service or product that you're working with too?
We're working on that. We're a kids camp, and our service and product that is our rentals and our registrations and, you know, program participation, that kind of thing. But with COVID, it's not happening as quick as we want, you know. So yeah, we're going there. It's just not happening as quick. So, okay, so we're allowed to start with brainstorming before we'd actually be able to hire on our consultant.
Most definitely. And again, I refer you to the continuum document, the chart
Right.
that we shared in session number 1.
Right.
It's available in the program guidelines document. Really important to kind of look at that and to find out where you're sitting in terms of what you've described, Kathy. Find out where you're sitting on that spectrum, and that will determine the stream and the way you come into the application process too.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
This conversation just brought to mind the other key piece that we touched on in the first session is that no core operating costs can be covered through the IRP. So this is a sprint towards investment readiness. So a project, an initiative, support that is moving you forward towards being ready to receive more investment. So I just wanted to ensure you got that as well, Kathy.
Yes, I did. And we have been successful in the past to help us get a social investor to come on board with us. And it's just we've recognized to move even more forward, we need to pick up this one area that was overlooked and to develop it and to bring it along so that we'll be ready for even more investors and that people will see that we are we're able to grow and be sustainable in the future.
Great.
So Kathy, you might be, I read out the getting started description, but it sounds like you're underway, and that's a box you're going to click in the application which says, at this stage, the business idea or concept is under development, but you're still needing to conduct further research and development for some aspects of it. This might include, for example, deeper market analysis and legal aspects. You might have some awareness of the social finance market, but aren't really certain how your project might be suitable. So they're describing, your stage of development in the application. So that's reassurance that your developments are going to be falling under the goals of the IRP program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I can see we still have some hands, but I'm going to switch back to the chat. If there is a business already existing, like the one you want to apply for, is that allowed?
I guess they're asking if something already exists in the social enterprise marketplace, and I don't think duplication is going to be deemed something ineligible for funding. If something works and you're doing something similar, I think that's certainly eligible. I hope I'm answering the question properly. Anybody else jump in if you
Thank you. I can see Catherine has raised her hand.
Hi there. I just have a really quick question. So in the application, there's a requirement for a supporting document that will help to inform the selection jury about the operations of the social purpose organization. And I'm just wondering if you can indicate whether or not there are parameters for this supporting document, or sort of what format it should be in. Or is there like a page limit or that sort of thing? And I guess the other part of that would be, what sort of content do you anticipate seeing in that kind of document?
So I think it's an open filing, so something that might clarify and inform the jury about your operation. So maybe you have a brochure or an annual report or some sort of communication piece that might be informative about your work. I believe that's what it is. And thank you so much. You're drawing attention to page 2, which does list the things that people are going to have to attach. And those are the project budget, corporate bylaws, corporate filing. So that'll be your charitable documents or your business number, list and bios of management team members and board members that will lead your project. So we do want to know what people you have on your team. And that's an optional attachment. And then what you're describing, Catherine, is the supporting document to help inform the selection jury about operations of your social purpose organization.
Okay, that makes sense then. So it's really, it's not a lengthy document. It's just something that indicates what the sort of the general disposition of the social purpose organization is.
Yes, and you're limited to one attachment. So
okay.
make that make that the flagship piece that talks about what you're doing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That answers the question.
Thank you. I can see there was a question in the chat. It said, could you remind us of the definition of investment readiness from funders' perspective? And it was answered, the IRP is designed to help social purpose organizations prepare for the Government of Canada's broader investment in social finance, such as the government's upcoming Social Finance Fund. This includes support to social purpose organizations that currently do not consider themselves part of that ecosystem. So thank you very much for answering that question in the chat.
I added it below to Christine if others want to explore, added the link. And the goal there is also stated. Its goal is to help social purpose organizations build their capacity to participate in Canada's growing social finance market, prepare themselves to be better able to take on investments. So yeah, lots of info to explore on that same page.
Thank you, Elly.
We have shared previously, and Christine, you might have the link for the glossary document too, that might help. There's some very clear wording about investment readiness continuum, definitions of the types of entities that are applying, and that might be helpful to the questioner.
Thank you very much. I can see that Elly has added the glossary into the chat if you are interested in that. And it's also available for those listening on the CFC resource library as well, if you wanted to search out that document later. I can see that we have a hand from Guillermo.
Hi, yeah, me again. Thank you. In the application, the question, what percentage of your revenue is returned to your mission? I was feeling, a little insecure about asking the question, but then when I heard that this is exactly to help people that aren't part of the ecosystem become part of the ecosystem, felt a bit more comfortable asking the question. Just because from our perspective, this is a dairy, an organic dairy, really leading in regenerative agriculture. It's going to be the first dairy in the country that has the regenerative organic certification from the Rodale Institute. And we're also becoming a regional hub with the Savory Institute, given some holistic management work that we've been doing. All this to say that I guess I'm just not sure how to answer that question, because essentially, the operation of this business and the revenue that we bring from this business is all to be able to produce more regenerative certified products that will support our environmental efforts. So I'm just not sure how to answer that. If you guys can speak to that, if it's a clear question of sorts.
Well, there must be other costs that are supported by the profit. So I think, defining some sort of percentage, Guillermo, from what you're describing and that's probably self-defined. So you need to reckon that through and flesh out your answer as you have done in your description to us. Elly, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm just pondering over here. Is it revenue or profit? I don't have the application right in front of me. So to me, those are
document. Yeah, so the document does say revenue up front.
Yeah.
But then it says, then it's kind of contradictory, because then it says to be classified as a social enterprise for IRP, a majority of the business's profits need to go back into their social, cultural, environmental mission. So
yeah,
it kind of has both. So I'm not sure which one is it or how to answer it.
Well, revenue, profit, I think it may be synonymous here, and I think you've described how your purpose is to reinvest in those tenets of so there must be some way to proportionally estimate how much of what you earn is going back into the propagation of your social purpose.
I wonder if we could ask for clarity on this one, because I could really get into this on a lot of different levels, because profit and revenue are somewhat different, but I do understand the question they're asking. I think it might be good for us to get a bit of clarity for people on the call on this one, if we're okay with that, and we can then follow up.
Let's do that. And as we said at the outset, we will be sharing answers to questions that are remaining with everybody that's registered for the call. So we'll see if we can get some clarity, profit, revenue, and that percentage question too.
Thank you. I can see that Chris has his hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to learn, and really appreciate all the hard work that you folks have put in to helping educate folks like me and Guillermo and everybody on the call. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I've had the opportunity to meet some of you over the last year, and I'm really drawn to the concept of triple bottom line and social enterprise businesses, social enterprises, that sort of thing. And I don't yet know the role I can play, but I want to play a role. So there's my statement that I am wondering about, how entrepreneurs can participate in this either peripherally or to launch new businesses, that sort of thing. And I guess my question was on the back of Guillermo, which is, how much, if a majority of profits are going back into the social enterprise business, and it's a for-profit, for good, triple bottom line, I get all that sort of stuff. I guess, the question I have is, how much of that profit must go in? Because if you want to raise capital through investors, they're going to probably want some degree of return as well as feeling good about their contribution. So I don't know how to frame this in the form of a question, to be honest, but it's more of an observation. And I think this is all a good thing. And I guess investment readiness right now sounds like it's just for more funding from the government, as opposed to being investment ready for angel investors. Is that a fair question? Is, get the government side of the house all figured out, and then going forward as an entrepreneur, if I start a social enterprise business, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, we'll be thinking about ways in which we can raise more capital through angel investors and high net worth individuals to finance a social enterprise business. I don't know if that kind of falls out as a question to anybody, but that's kind of where my head's at, trying to evaluate this opportunity and the role a guy like me or other entrepreneurs should play.
Yeah, I'm so happy to jump in, and a lot of what you shared, I totally resonates, and Guillermo, your questions as well. So the wonderful thing about the IRP is that it's open to various structures, and there's no other program that I know like this. So that's amazing. It also poses nuanced details that show up based on different structures. So when we're talking about social enterprise and we're talking about the for-profit structure, the means in which a for-profit shows where their profit then goes is a lot more complicated than the not-for-profits, charities, and co-ops that have that ingrained in their structure and ingrained in their reporting every year. So there are, I think, some additional details for the for-profit model to explore, but it's all, social enterprise is all about transparency and accountability. So a lot of for-profit organizations have moved through things such as B Corp certification, which is, takes about a year and is an extensive certification process that then allows a for-profit to say, yes, we're making a lot of money potentially, and we're making a lot of impact, and here's where our impact lies. And the B Corp process then breaks it down by percent. So essentially, yes, triple bottom line, quadruple bottom line, there's a lot of different models to explore, but I think for your specific application, it would be important to reach out and gain a bit of clarity from a rep so you could talk about your specific situation and your structure. That would be my recommendation regarding this. So hopefully that's a bit of a response, and maybe over to you, Estella and Stuart, if there's anything you'd like to add. You're on mute. Yep.
I think you answered it perfectly. Elly, and I think Chris gave you the thumbs up.
There is, I'm just reading the application as well, and question 17 and 18 kind of address this point. And you are going to be asked to identify the total revenues of your social purpose organization, and then separate out the revenues generated from the sale of goods or services that you are associating with your social enterprise. And then for the past 3 years or since your establishment. And then there is a place for a narrative for you to explain and quantify how profits are and will be used, and how will you or do you reinvest profit into your mission. So it's not so much about the quantity, but the philosophy that, as Elly's describing. And I believe, I think Elly's right that there's going to be quite a span of different interpretations and answers to that type of question.
Thank you for sharing. We have a question that came in for the chat. For the added document, does it have to be something that has already been used by the organization, or can it be developed specifically for this project?
It doesn't, it just says supporting document. So one file or document that will help inform the selection jury about the operations of your social purpose organization. I think the jury would welcome it, whether it's new and you've formed that, or whether it's something that you've used prior. There's no stipulation in the description.
Thank you very much. We have another question. Can you confirm what page 2 was referenced where the supporting documents are requested? They just couldn't see that on the guideline or the application.
Well, I have a printout of the application form. Once you're registered and in there, it is one of the first descriptions. I'm referring to page 2 of the I'm not sure if this is available on the website or not, IRP application form.
Yes, Stuart, it looks like that has answered the question. Thank you. And so we invite anyone with additional questions to raise their hand or welcome them into the chat if you have any questions.
One more from Kathy there. Do I see it?
And Mary as well.
My question is there a size limitation on the additional document that can be added?
I don't see any size limitation. So it's a shareable document or file. So you may find if it's enormous, there might be a problem when you get into the application. I'll encourage you to try. But if you have problems, give us a call when you're in there.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, did you have a question?
I don't know whether I can, some of my people are with me here, but when you mentioned about the finances and that, we were already starting to try to figure out, we're a nonprofit association that's a land trust. We own 200 acres. Most of our revenue as a supporting organization or a social development organization is rental, some of it land, some of it. And so we don't sell the products. Our existing enterprise that's getting going is the one that would be selling food. And so anyway, we were starting to scratch our heads about it too, but I'm sure when we dig down and read all the fine print, it'll become clear.
Yeah, that the chart that I was looking at, the application, your total revenues are apart from the goods or services you've defined as your what you're offering as your social purpose. So I think that there's an opportunity to separate that out and to describe how your organization is working. That's all.
Kathy?
Oh,
Building on Mary's question then, so if we just go to the CRA website and take total revenues and total of goods and services off of the CRA website to add into that chart, would that be the logical way to do this from our CRA filings?
that is a question, like if those goods and services are the ones that you have defined as what you're offering as your social enterprise portion of business. So I'm not sure if that's been the case of how you've separated them for your CRA filing or not. So that would be for you to define, Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
And it looks like Michael has his hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just also following up on Mary's question. I am a colleague with Mary working on this project. And it is continuing on these financial questions. So like that question 17, where it asks for these revenues and revenues from sales of goods. So first, so does rental income count as a revenue from sales of goods and services? It is GST applicable. That's what, so that's how we're thinking about adding those lines. And then in addition, just to create the complexity of our specific project is, so you have the nonprofit Rose Land Care Association who holds the farm in a land trust. And the relationship is really, and the social enterprise exists on the farm, running the farming operations, developing products and services, educational programs, etc. So it's a challenge sometimes in thinking it through when, like in this line, revenue from sales of goods and services, there's the nonprofit, and then there's the somewhat of a for-profit enterprise, social enterprise on the farm. And we're melding the two, like our whole project is about how to align those two things, how to create the legal structure for co-benefit into the future, and ensuring that really the enterprise though takes on the mission and mandate of the nonprofit into its business. So it's a complicated one, and it becomes difficult on when we're talking about like the land trust as the social purpose organization, and when we're talking about the enterprise as the social purpose organization. And I don't know if that sounds familiar from other kinds of projects, but it really is two active organizations coming together to figure out how to really structure that into for long-term future and for long-term investment into whether that's capital projects on the farm, or whether that's purchasing up other farms, or whether that's training programs, etc.
Well, I think, Michael, the narrative portion on question 18 is going to give you a chance to explain that. And if you are at that stage of ideation or underway, those things I described, that we're going to be understanding that this may be something you're needing help to define in terms of your structure, and maybe revenue structuring is part of the application. Something you're needing help with to further delineate and to articulate. Anything else to add, Elly?
Yeah, happy to jump in. And yeah, I was just going to say, the one thing that stands out to me and what both colleagues have shared is that although the two initiatives are well underway and doing different but related things, where you're headed is something new, right? So it sounds to me, in a lot of ways, it's getting started. It's that earlier phase into this next merge, a partnership or new structure or whatever that might be, although both initiatives have existed for a while. So that's what I'm hearing. If that potentially helps with the application.
And I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking because of the history and they've all in the 30 years of it's kind of in two previous chapters, and now we're trying to get into the third chapter. I was thinking that we were far along that continuum. So I guess as long as we describe it and it's
Yeah,
the story.
I think it's how you position it, right? Because if it's one of the initiatives applying and this is a growth stage in their journey, stage 3, then I think you just want to ensure your application is cohesive and consistent in that way. If it's the early stage partnership conversations and a new structure of a new initiative, then I would position it in the other stream.
Thank you. And there's just one question in the chat. Can you confirm that Grey Bruce is one of the Central Southwestern Ontario partners?
Yes, we are. Yeah, I think our region is called Central Southwestern Ontario. Am I right, Isela? When you look at the checklist, that's what we're. So it stretches from the edge of our region, Tobermory, all the way down to Windsor, along the Huron shore, and encompasses the London area as well. There is a map on the IRP site as well that can, if you're questioning where you're meant to apply to. Some organizations do have national impact, and there is a place to apply for in a different category that goes through the Community Foundations of Canada office too. And you'll see that when you get to the portion of the application where you have to identify your regional partner.
And I can see we have a raised hand.
Sorry, one last question from me, and then I promise I will leave and not ask anymore. If we run into any further questions in filling out the application, are we free to contact our regional person to ask them?
That's what we're here for. Yep. Please give us a call. You can call Windsor or Grey Bruce, or we have amplification partners right across the region. Other community foundations, Woodstock, Oxford County, Stratford Perth Huron, Aylmer, Sunset, and Sarnia are all supporting the IRP as well, and so they can field your calls and pass them along to the regional partners if that's appropriate, or we can dig in and talk to our friends in Ottawa to get the answer you need.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. This has been very useful. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Kathy.
There's one more question, Janet.
Hi, and my name's Janet Murray, and Stuart, thanks for mentioning this national piece, because I wanted to tell you I did get onto the proposal. I've had to use incognito mode because there are cookies embedded in my site, but I'm on, so I'm very happy. But I did tick off the national. I ticked off all regions, and it came up with ticking off every single region. And I have to say that made me extremely nervous because we're just a startup, but we are a national organization. So hopefully that works. But anyway, thank you so much, team, for all your information today. It was most useful.
Thanks, Janet. How are we doing, Christine? Have we?
I think we have addressed all the questions, and I think we've answered all the raised hands. So now would be a great time for any concluding remarks or insights.
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody, Isela and Elly, for the wonderful presentation and the insights you offered in addressing questions. Much, much appreciated. And big thank you to Christine and Jen for fielding the calls and working behind the scenes today. And thank you all for attending. And I think that these groups that are stepping forward, that are sharing their own questions, that's so helpful to others that are applying. And as I mentioned off the top, our recording of this will be available on YouTube, and we'll be broadcasting the link. And it's been the round one was a great resource for over 70 people that have watched the first recording. So we're very optimistic that this one will be helpful too. And thank you all so much, and good luck on your road towards your application submission on November 22nd. And we look forward to celebrating your projects, hopefully in the future as a successful IRP recipient.
And I just want to make note that thank you to Stuart, Jen, Christine, and Elly for putting together this webinar, and to everyone who attended.
Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.